Hello, I'm ready to start drawing on this cat again. I hope you're ready. Originally I had thought I would do this background so that we could map in the ear tufts, and I think it'll just make the drawing look better and be easier to tell the values with that background in there. But first I'd like to put in these two pieces above the eyes, just to make it look a little bit more complete. So I just have the ivory right now, and if you notice on the reference photo, it's pretty light on this side of this marking right here. So there's this dark marking in front of the eye, and then, so these are longer pieces of fur. Is that how you say a piece of fur? Hairs? I don't know. So you want to do like a longer stroke with your pencil. Whereas on this side, they're shorter. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does make a difference. I feel like whatever you're doing underneath, as an underneath layer, sort of trains your paper for the layers that you put on top. So I'm just going to work from this stripe here, this marking on down. Get rid of some more of these lines. Because I'm going to have overlapping fur. Coda just hopped up to join us on the chair. Addie is outside. It's a beautiful day outside today. It's very sunny and low humidity. In Virginia, it gets very humid in the summertime, so I try and enjoy this kind of weather as much as I can. It's less humid. Okay. Just doing pretty light strokes here. Got more pencil marks over here. Kind of gives me the willies when it makes that noise. Ugh, okay. So maybe I'll just go right here to the eye for now. Okay. And then I'd like to map in this patch here. No, I think it's black. But I'm just trying to think, do I want to do a dark sepia or a Payne's? Sometimes when I have black, I like to do a different color underneath first. I really don't think we can go wrong with either one. I'm kind of feeling the dark sepia. Doing light strokes to try and figure out where this marking is. It's much easier to erase. Making sure that we're going in the direction of the fur, which is this way, at an angle. It's pretty sharp, but I'm going to sharpen it some more. Okay, so I'm just marking it. Now, sometimes what I do when I'm not drawing in between, because I have a regular day job, in between I'll come by and I'll look. So I have my reference photo taped right next to it, so I compare. And I've discovered that the stripe was wrong. You know, quote unquote wrong, because it's not like this is somebody's pet portrait. But I wanted to fix it. Looking for my Payne's gray. I think that's what I was using on those. There. No, that's warm gray. Sometimes I look and look and I can't find a pencil, and then it'll be right in front of my face. But I, for real, don't see it. So I'm just going to use, what is this? Cold Gray 6 for now. Oh my goodness. I just found it. It's sitting on my drawing board. So Payne's Gray. Yeah. Right in front of my face. I'm just gonna fix this. I guess I just wanted it over. I don't even remember. Looking at it from a different perspective is helpful. So standing up, I'm seated right now. Just gonna start to map this darker part in. It's not as dark as it needs to be right now, but we will darken it as we go. Making just little short pencil marks. Okay. Going back to sepia. So this one has a little bit of a curve to it. And I'm just putting kind of individual strokes that pop through, because this is going to be the kind of creamier colored fur. Okay. Then let's continue to build the creamy colored fur. So probably some warm gray 1 and some whatever they call flesh now. So I'll just do, so this is on top of the ivory. I'm not going to do it everywhere because that ivory, I don't know, it's pretty solid ivory right here, I think. So just laying down the foundation for the base color. Just trying to look for the lightest color I see and build that up, and then put the darker colored hairs over top. I think the dark sepia works better with the ivory than the Payne's gray. Anything like the black, I think I told you that the black is kind of sketchy around the ivory. Well, it's the same thing with the Payne's gray. It's because it's got some blue to it, so it can look kind of bad. Just blocking in this color. Down to the eye. I think I drew this pencil mark because it's a whisker coming out of the eye. It doesn't need to be there. Oh, that's right. On this paper, I really like that Faber-Castell eraser. Oh, I left it over next to my other drawing, so never mind about that. It's just like a pencil. It looks like a pencil, but it's a little pink eraser. I have another drawing over set up on this chair that I sit on when I'm not recording, and that's where it is. So I'll just use the Tombow. I was trying to get some of the pigment off the bottom of it, so I usually just wipe it on my, right now I'm wearing shorts, wipe it on my clothes to try and get it off, because if you're not careful it'll transfer onto your drawing. Okay. Oh, that's cinnamon. I want the beige red. Don't know why I can't remember that name. Not sure what I was doing over here. Scribbling that in, I guess. I think we use Beaster on this side. Okay, I'm just looking at it. So, I'd like to get a little bit more color in there. Maybe some brown ochre or beester. Let's do a little brown ochre. Now this one's pretty powerful, so I have to be light with it. Just coming out of this eye here, it looks a little bit more yellow to me. I'm just drawing first strokes now. I'm trying not to have too many lines that you can see because I don't think that looks really good. I'd rather give the impression of fur rather than draw a bunch of fur lines. Then over here a little bit. So this is where those ivory pieces are going like that. So I'm just going to go in between. And these are longer pieces of fur. And this is when you start drawing the fur lines, you really have to be careful of the direction. That's what's going to give shape to the face on these really furry animals. I guess really on all the animals. This is kind of orangey yellowy too. Okay. Mapping things in here. Let's get the walnut brown. Shouldn't blow on my drawing, that's bad. I'm gonna try and get, let's see, this darker fur up here, you know, some of it's probably dark sepia. I'm gonna start out with the lighter walnut. Now the tricky part is you have to try and get in between the fur on this white patch right here, this ivory patch, and capture how it kind of swoops. So it's hard to make it look random. And then, you know, always start making the outline of the shape, which is kind of what we're doing. We're outlining this shape. making it bigger than it needs to be. It's a lot easier to add more than take away. And the fur gets shorter over here, so it's just like these little marks, little random marks. Little happy clouds, that's what Bob Ross would say. At this stage, you can still erase if you need to. Maybe not everything, but brush. I haven't used this paper in a while. It's really makes these pencils crumble a lot. Tea break. Okay, so it's getting lighter down here. I don't want to be too crazy with it. So this part is darker. So the idea with the layering is to create a whole bunch of colors underneath, which is going to look more realistic. Because you'll notice, like if you have a pet or you're looking at an animal, they really have a whole bunch of colors in them. So you kind of build the base, and then using really light pressure, and then as you add on top, you can use more pressure. So that's what I'm kind of doing now, slightly more with this walnut brown. So we mapped out these spots before, so I'm just gonna add some, even though it is a pretty bluish gray there, just to give it some more color. Because, I'm sorry, I just hiccuped. As we keep going, then you'll want to make your values darker. Right now it's too light. Okay. Gonna put this piece in too. I think it'll help us to map out this part to the left of his eye. Looking for my dark sepia. So this part right here, I'm gonna be careful. Oh, you can't really see that, can you? There. Okay, that's better. Now let's do maybe some Beaster or nougat. I'm trying to think, hold on. Maybe some nougat. Let's do some burnt sienna. I'm gonna start leaving these main ones I'm using over here so I don't have to root around for them forever. So it's just adding more color. Maybe a little bit above this black patch. Probably need to darken these black patches more to see them. So dark sepia. And then by now, hopefully you can see if you have it in the right place. If not, you can, hopefully you can adjust it a little bit. So in the middle, it's a lot darker. Probably put some black in that once we're happy with it. But I really don't want to until we're done with ivory and all of that. Because that can create a mess. There's some darker fur, not many, but coming out of here, so I'm trying to be careful. This is that darker sepia, dark sepia. My ivory patch is a little too big. It's tricky, tricky. It's got, I don't know, the black whiskers too, but I'm gonna wait to do this. It's not so easy to erase. But it would be harder if we were using the wax-based pencils. That's for certain. Okay. So inside of that little patch, we could do some beaster. It's kind of a yellowy brown color. I'm just going pretty light here. And then I'm going to put beaster on the other side of the patch. Okay. So once we darken in here some more, it'll help to contrast. Just putting some more ivory in. So light. This is when it would be helpful to have the background in to see how we're doing with that contrast. Okay. I'm just going to take the Tombow. See if I can get a few little lighter marks in here. Okay. I'm just going to use this titanium buff. To mix it a little bit, so don't use heavy pressure or you'll smush the tooth of the paper. but it mixes the colors pretty well. And then we can still add on top of it. Especially if something's looking too grainy. Okay. Not sure what I did right here, but it's funky. Okay, so probably need to darken with sepia. Some lines in this area where we used a lot of walnut brown. So you can use a little bit heavier strokes. The thing with the fur, which it just, sometimes I still struggle with it, is you don't want to cover over the layers that you have done below all of it, because you want some of those to show through. And then you want to make sure that your fur has kind of a realistic looking direction to it, which is, I think it's pretty tricky to not just draw parallel lines. So you want them to crisscross and then curve in the correct direction. And it doesn't have to look exact to the reference at all, but just use the reference to give you some ideas of how it naturally would move, which direction the fur would move. There's those hyper realist artists, and I mean their work is just amazing. I enjoy colored pencils a lot, but it takes a long time, and so I can't imagine if I were to try and draw everything exact. Okay. So being careful to leave some gaps. Talking to myself here too. I'm going to sharpen it again. I think it's easier. So I guess that dark part really goes, I don't know, from here. Let's put in over here. So there's the tuft coming that way. And then this piece is tufting out. So these hairs need to go in kind of on the other side of the tuft. And then that's going to be really light. Is that too far down? No, I guess not. So that little tuft is going to come this way. So that's kind of flat right there. Put some more dark fur on this side. Okay. So if that is right there, so I had to put this piece in so I could see how far down this dark sepia goes on this side. So for me, what I like to do is, a little crazy right there, map things in and then keep just gradually darkening. It's not a big deal, but that is like a little spot of burnt sienna. Right there. Okay, so this shape still needs to be refined better. I'm gonna put some burnt sienna inside of it a little bit. Really, it needs to be touched up, so maybe with nougat, real sharp nougat. Gonna try and refine this patch here. Okay, so I'm gonna put some cinnamon in here. So this is the next one. Oh, kind of down in value or darker than the beige red or whatever it's called now. So it has a little bit more of a punch, but it's a really natural hue. Okay, I went over across the room and I got this. So it's Faber-Castell Perfection is what it's called. So it's an eraser. And I don't know if this is gonna work. I'm gonna try. So I just want to create some highlights where maybe I drew over things and I shouldn't have. You really have to think about the white space with colored pencils. And you have to try and leave it white on this paper. Now, pastel mat is another beast. This would probably be easier on pastel mat. But I think that worked a little bit. So I'm gonna just try and refine a little bit more with the sepia. Then it starts to go up. Okay. Trying crisscross motions. Make sure I don't have picket fences. Sometimes you just have little dots of the fur. Okay, this can be darker now. When I went over across the room to get that eraser, it's helpful if you just kind of stand back, and I wear readers now just because of my age, and I take those off and I step back because you're just so focused in drawing close on these things that it can look quite different when you stand back. It can look a lot better than you think. Like if you think it's not going very well, then walk away from it, even for a day. A lot of times my habit is to, when I'm done, I cover it up, so in case I don't want like flies landing on it or something, because Lakota, the dog, is always considering whether he wants to come in, so then flies come in. So I just cover it up, and then the next day I look at it and compare it to the reference, and then I can see sometimes immediately either I think it looks better than I did the day before, or there's like a tweak that I need to make. Gotta be careful with these brushes and the Polychromos because it really does smear it. So I'm gonna put a little bit more color, some more of this. This is cinnamon here on this lighter patch. And here. Probably put some more brown ochre over there too. Brown ochre. Kind of glazing with it. I think it would be cool to have some burnt ochre in here too. Especially around the top of this white patch. Trying to be cognizant of leaving some lighter areas. Okay. So might as well finish this part here. Oh, sometimes I'm using too much force. Let's put some warm gray 2 into the patch. That's 1. The patch of fur to the right of the eye. Is that it? Nope. Okay, I'm just gonna use 3 because I can't find it. It's like I've got 2 1s over here. I don't know why. Oh, that's white. Oh, okay, I found it. Some more cinnamon. The warm grays just go so well with the cinnamon. And then let's get that dark sepia, map the shape in again. I'm going to use dark sepia here, even though it could be Payne's gray, but because I'm using the ivory, so we did some good work on this stuff on the top of the head the other day, but it still needs more color. It's kind of faded out. It was probably easier if I, well, I'm going to sharpen it. Number 1, start from the bottom and move up. I'm doing these tiny fur strokes. I don't want them too obvious, but sometimes this paper, I don't know, I guess. Maybe when I used it before, I probably used wax-based pencils. I'm not really used to how these polychromos are working with it. So this is Bristol Vellum, I don't know, Canson. Very old pack of paper. I think I saw on the price tag, like I actually bought it in an art store. Maybe it was 2008 or 2012. I don't even know where I would have gotten it from. Now it's like you can go into craft stores and they have a couple of supplies. But no nice art stores, for me anyway. Just hatching this in, even though I don't have I don't think I have any kind of base here yet. Okay. This needs to be darker. So is this. Just continuing to refine. I just feel like I made a mess of this little piece over here. Okay, my battery died, so I had to plug in my dummy battery and all that stuff. So let's do, I lost my train of thought now, which is fine because I kind of get ADD anyway. Let's darken these markings. Not dark enough. And I don't think I have mine coming down to the right spot, so I'm gonna try and fix that a little bit. We will put some black on it. So I've got this spot up here. And then we faded it out because of the sun. This needs to be darker then. And then down here, leading towards the eye, has a nice darker value to it. I'm gonna do that. Okay. Might just finish this little piece right here and color that, even though, just so it's ready for when we do the background. Okay. So, ivory. I'm just gonna go right where this pencil mark is. I wonder which eraser is best to use for this pencil line. So I don't want them to mix with the ivory because that'll be bad. So I guess I'll just kind of get rid of them. But you're not going to be able to see this color here against the white paper. I'm just going to put some white here. And then we'll shape it based on the background. Let's see those pencil lines. Curses. I mean, you could use like a coal gray one, but you probably wouldn't see that anyway. Right there. Okay. So we did the ivory. Now let's get the warm gray one. And just put a base on there of that. Just gonna go down to right there. Okay. I'm gonna put a little coal gray. The edge seems a little cooler to me. Put it over top of this white. I don't really want a definite line right there. I'd rather it fade. Okay. Then let's put some warm gray too. For strokes. I'm going up this way. So the edge of this eyebrow is, I don't know if it's eyebrow, but right there. So you can't really see that warm gray too very well, but that's okay. Maybe probably some nougat right where, coming out of that black stripe. See you, nougat. I can also use that to start creating the shadows between the hairlines of this feature that's above kitty cat's eye. Definitely easier to map it in with a lighter color. And then it's like the first swoops up and just right next to this feature kind of short crisscrossy hairs. Okay. This is lighter. Cool gray too. Okay. Seeps. Okay, so this is, oh, I broke it, my pencil sharpener. Usually doesn't happen with the Polychromos, happens all the time with the Prismacolors. I love Prismacolors because they're the reason why I like color pencils in the first place, because of art class in high school. Mr. Faben had Prismacolors, and I just liked how they laid down so smooth as opposed to, you know, those like cheap Crayola ones, especially if you burnished. I didn't know it was called burnished back then, but now I do. So when you use all the pressure, and I didn't really know how to use them, well, how you can use them, because the good thing about art is you can do it however you want. But I didn't know how you could do something like this, I guess, until I started looking into it and realized that artists were using colored pencils to almost make things look like paintings. Especially with the Prismacolors. I did a drawing of Ross Castle for my mom, and I used the Prismacolors, and the picture, the reference photo that I used was amazing, and the photographer was so kind because I tracked him down. I did like a reverse Google image search, tracked him down, asked him if I could submit that drawing because I was proud of it to, I think it was Ann Kohlberg's competition, and he was like, yeah. And so I got into that. So that was really cool. It was called Color Pencil Treasures. That she does, I think, every 2 years. And then they asked me if they could put it in the magazine too. Yeah. But anyway, I was able to achieve kind of a painterly look by burnishing with them and that. And man, I remember, you could ask my good friend at school, I was really complaining about that piece because it was so hard to figure out, I don't know, different colors or how to do the rocks, and it would just give me fits. It just goes to show if you persevere. All right, so maybe some black in here. I don't think I did very good on the shape, but I'm just gonna let that go. Don't need to be crazy. If it was somebody's kitty I was drawing, then I would be more careful to try and make it look exactly like the cat, but I'm just drawing this cat because I like the reference. If I can recall correctly, we did use some black on this already, but it's not dark enough. Using more pressure. After we darken that enough, this stripe is too big, then we can add some more hairs in between so it doesn't look so odd. was working on that area and you couldn't see it. Let's just darken this a little bit more before we move on. He's got a hair going down through here, but I'm not going to worry about that. If you wanted to put it in there, you just have to draw around it and leave this space blank. So we need a little bit of darker fur to the left of the eye. So I guess I'll just use some sepia. So I think the cat, I think it looks better now with the, now that we've done this piece. I mean, it's a work in progress, I know, but I like to get it to a stage where I'm feeling good about it. And then it gives me confidence to, and a desire to want to come back to it, if that makes sense. If I think something is not looking that good, you know, well, I guess you know, you might be less inclined to think, oh, I can't wait to work on the cat today. Be more like, I gotta work on that cat, figure out what the heck, how to fix this. Just gonna do a couple of sepias in there. Okay. This is darker right here. Let's go for, it's probably burnt sienna. This is a great color. It'll add a darker value for you, but it's really got a lot of warmth and color. Okay. And you can just put a little bit of the sepia on top to darken it even more if you want. Okay. Now, above the eye, that looks like burnt sienna too. Right here. Try and just draw some hairs. Like that. Maybe around the edge over here. Oops, a little crazy right there. It's okay. Okay. I'm just going to mix it a little with my trusty Caran d'Ache. All right, so I'm noticing this shape needs to be in a little, oops, way too hard I pressed. I'm gonna talk like yoga all of a sudden. Yoda. Yoga. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Let me get a little bit of nougat because this looks weird right here. And just fix the shape a little bit. I'm moving over to, oops. Definitely need some more brown sienna. Let's see. I'm looking more towards the middle of the cat's forehead now. Wow. First, let's use some black. Don't forget the black. Everybody will tell you the key to making something look realistic is the values. So you got to try and get things as dark as they are in the reference. And then that contrast will really make things stand out. Probably put some more darker marks on my ear and whatnot just to push the contrast a little bit, even though this photo, the cat doesn't have the most contrast is probably in the markings and around his eyes. I'm just going to darken up here some more. So being careful to leave some of the lighter colors underneath that you can still see. It'd be really easy just to color in a line where the markings were, but you can tell in the reference photo there's some lighter fur marks underneath. Okay. Might have to darken the top of the head a little bit, but we'll wait for that. So maybe get our friend Sepia and need some more darker fur lines in here. And also some brown ochre. Looking on my iPad, I can see some little random bits of brown ochre and patches of fur. I'm going to grab the brown ochre, especially right here. I'm just going to kind of glaze that right there. Back here where we were putting it already. Where else? I think at the base of this one. Right here. Just looking for yellow browny bits in the patches. And it's here, but we really haven't built that up yet, so just put a little. Okay. Okay, I've got, let's see. Let's do base on the nose and then we'll move to the right side of the forehead. I'm just taking a cold gray 3 and calming this down a little bit.